Welcome, State of Events community, to Reimagine Events. This special event series features event professionals from varying sectors of our industry, sharing their stories of how they've had to reimagine events in a pandemic era. As benchmarks are reached for events to make a comeback, these professionals discuss how they have reimagined what our industry might look like.
Chris, please tell our listeners, who are you, what do you do, and what are you doing now?
Yeah. So my name is Chris. I'm the founder of Chris Evans Events and Catering. We are a full service catering business. I started the business in 2012, and I actually left my 9 to 5. It made 4 years this past January. So I've been on this trip called Faith for the last 4 years. And it hasn't been too bad, actually. I actually thought that 2020 was like, oh my gosh, we're shutting everything down. 2019 was a year like we made a very big impact into the industry. And so if you know anything about sales and marketing, you project based upon your previous year. And so we were like, 2020 is going to be our year. It's going to be even better. And so COVID happened. And so during that process, or at least in the beginning of the process, I was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We were supposed to be even bigger and better this year. And I must say that we've made some pretty big leaps and bounds with quarantine or COVID-19. It didn't stop us. So I'm excited about that. Even though I cannot wait to get back to events, we've definitely made the pivot towards prepared meals, as well as doing some contracts for different organizations that have clienteles that deal with food insecurity. So that was our pivot. Instead of doing full scale events where we're doing design, setup, food, everything from start to finish, we're pretty much doing prepared meals, which is we make food either hot or cold, and we deliver it to different places across the Bay Area. So that's what we're doing now. It's keeping my team employed as well as making sure all of our bills are being paid. So I'm not complaining about it at all. And so we made that pivot so we can stay afloat, so we can have this narrative that we didn't sink or go under as a result of our current situations.
So we're talking about reimagining events, and you talked about this prepared meal component. So can you paint a picture a bit of what it was that you were doing, right? So was this full service catering, plated meals, coming in with the whole crew, getting the hot, the warmers and things, and then going to box meals? Like, what was that actual transition like for you? And then obviously, can you please address, like, what did you have to learn that you didn't know before in terms of having to be up to code, having to be CDC guideline efficient? And like, what was that whole component like?
Yeah. So we literally went to from making up menus based on our clients. Like literally, we don't have a printed menu on our website. We don't have a printed menu to send out to people because we want to create an experience. So our motto is a tailor-made experience. And the whole name of my business is pretty much a play on my full name. So my full name is Christopher Evan Taylor. And so Chris Evans, my cousin calls me Evans. And so I use that as a part of the name. And then my last name is Taylor. And so the tailor-made experience is my last name. So we're creating an experience based on what I like, basically. And so pretty much we get inquiries from the clients And they always ask for, well, do you have a menu? Like, where do we start? And so we tell them, no, we take your vision. You let us know what your theme is. You let us know what your favorite foods are. And then we take that information and we create an experience based on your dreams. And we make it happen. So we went from that and we switched all the way to prepared meals, which it's pretty much like locked in. Like, this is the menu. This group of people like A, B, and C. They don't like it with too much of this, too less of that. Don't include this at all. And so it's very robotic. And so it's kind of taught us how to deal with a different group of people. Like, we do probably about 1,500 meals a week. And so we have to streamline a menu that fits, different restrictions where they can't have too much sodium, they can't have too much sugars, they can't have all these different things. And so it's taught us how to um, produce at a high volume. And it's a fine line because with the pivot, we didn't want to lose the integrity of our food and what people know they will get from Chris Evans Events and Catering. And so making sure that the food was still good and flavorful, but making sure that many people can eat it with whatever dietary restrictions that you did have.
Chris, what were those conversations like early on when you were having to develop that sort of that pivot plan? Did you call your team and say, hey, let's all get on some phone calls and kind of like map out? Did something come to you overnight? What was sort of that immediate readjust process for you? Were you in meetings all day long trying to?
Well, I mean, it was weird the way it happened to us. In 2020, me and part of my team, we were at a conference in Las Vegas. And literally, so the conference it's called Cater Source. And basically, people all over the United States, they come together and pretty much network. And we have classes and seminars and everything you can think about. And so when we first got there, it was like right on the brink of, okay, like this is really happening. And clients started to call and cancel. Like, everybody at the conference couldn't even focus because they were starting to get those calls like, we're not going to have our event. So from there, I was like, I only have two options. Either I can panic like everybody else is panicking, or we can jump in and see what we can do right now to make sure that we don't go under. And so one thing we do know is no matter what happens in life, people still have to eat. And so that was our saving
That
grace.
part, right?
People are going to eat regardless of, if you're not literally, a feeding to where people have to force you to eat, what you're going to do is get some food. And so we kind of started figuring out how could we produce some meals that people could either take to work with them, because at the time no one had officially shut down. So we started doing prepared meals for families. And that was the start of it. So we started there and started doing like 2 to 3 prepared meals out of the week where people knew, okay, we can go to this person or we can go to Chris Evans and they'll have dinner for us on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. We also were very considerate that we weren't the only people trying to stay afloat. So we looked at our peers, we looked at our colleagues, and we were like, hey, what days are you targeting so that we won't target those same days? And it's been working for us.
Come on, collaboration.
Right.
Where it
I'm
once
all for a good collaboration.
Right, where it once was maybe for some like the sort of competitor market. Now it's, and I actually, I love how I got inspired to do this particular episode, Reimagining Events, because every single interview that I've had so far, there was an immediate need for us to need each other, right? We needed each other now. Whereas before, it might have been maybe a space where it's like, I'm kind of considering if I want to, knock on my friend's door who might be doing the same thing I'm doing. Now it's like, hey, let's put these resources together and work together and develop a collaboration so that we both can benefit. I love that. I haven't heard anybody talk about ever in life, probably, that they're like, hey, what days are you not working? So I'll pick up that slack. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. And I must say that attributes to us not going over, because we didn't operate out of a place of scarcity. Like, we operated out of a place like, we're going to make it through it. We're going to get through this. We just need to figure out how to get through it. And we're not going to operate in a competitive way. We're going to operate in a way of integrity. And, I'm a religious person. Like, I already knew that God had me during this time. And so I didn't have to operate out of a place of the crab in a bucket mentality, or not being able to survive through whatever was about to befall us. So, yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love that. And in reimagining your business, I want to kind of go to this, and you just, feel free to be as transparent as you feel necessary. But in reimagining your business, did you have to now start to look at what your per plate cost was and what you can now do with these sort of box to go things? I mean, was that a significant financial decrease that you had, or were you able to just reimagine it in such a way where now maybe those costs actually went up because you had to adhere to, maybe rules and regulations that you didn't have to adhere to before?
Right. So, as a business, you never expect your employees to foot the bill of the items that will, keep your business running. So, of course, we had to invest in everything related to PPE, in terms of gloves, masks, sanitizer, you name it. We have had to reinvest into those items. And moving forward, even when events do come back, that's an additional line item that we now have to include to let people know, like, even though, yes, we have the vaccine, yes, we have this, but to make sure that not only your clients or your guests are safe, but me as a business owner, I want to make sure that the people that are coming to make sure that my dream continues, and that they still have a job, that, they're safe at the end of the day. So it's definitely affecting pricing. Um, and even with micro events, uh, we have to make sure that, we have enough staff to make sure that your event is covered. But we also have to make sure that we have someone there spraying candles, wiping stuff down, making sure, it's safe for everybody. So it's definitely something that is increasing costs. But at the same time, with the smaller events that we have started to do, people are understanding those additional costs.
There will be a new normal for our industry, and there will definitely be a new normal when it comes to food and beverage at events. From your standpoint, I want to talk about the experience. I come from a family of restaurateurs, chefs, cooks, self-taught and, prestigiously trained, and everything in the middle. Um, and the food experience is just that, right? It's an experience. Particularly if you happen to be a person who comes from an ethnic background, food is actually the main event sometimes, right? It is what it is what attracts people to even come to something. How do you think, as we reimagine that normal, how do you think it is going to be in creating an experience where the food is still the main thing at those events that are reliant on the food being sort of like the special guest?
Right. It's funny that you say that. So I recently, just did a birthday party last weekend, And so the person I catered for had this wonderful group of people there. And I looked up and was able to get a photo of everyone there. And it really put me in a different place because, as you know, for events, it's put on so many different things besides the people. Like the party was good if the food was good. The party was good if the drinks were good. The party was good if the DJ played all the hits. Like it's based upon the vendors that are participating in the actual event. And I think coming back out of, being quarantined and locked down, that narrative, it's actually going to change a little bit. It's going to be about the guests. It's going to be about those people finally being able to come back together, party, have a good time, all while having good food, all while having good drinks. And so I think that narrative or that pressure, if you're already serving good food, there's not going to be any additional pressure because people are just going to be so excited to be in a group with all their friends and not be guarded or not feel like, oh, we have to wear these masks or, we're not safe anymore. They're just going to be happy to be together. So I think it puts pressure on us, but it doesn't. The pressure is to keep being great at what you already have been doing pre-COVID time.
And I never thought about it that way too, that, we're so, I mean, obviously I've experienced it, that I'm so anxious to just be around others.
Yeah.
And I'm a people person.
Right.
That interaction in person. It's just, there's no way to recreate that under any circumstances. Can you recreate the human touch and human interaction, not with this screen, And I never thought about that. Like, I almost think now people can even reimagine their budgets for their events to where they're possibly going to be reconsidering their line item for anything but like the people experience, right? So the dancing, the music, decor, we don't care what it looks like. Put us in a room with white walls. We don't care. Just get us around each other.
It's just going to be when. Like, when can we get together? Like, yes, it's going to be food there, and it's going to be great that the food is great. It's going to be great that the drinks are great. But really, all I really want to do is just hug you. I want to touch you. I want to feel your presence, your energy. As you were saying, like, it's some emotions that we just can't feel from Zoom. I was saying this the other day, like, I had a phone call for the first time in knows how long, that wasn't like Zoom or Ring Central or like all these other apps that make you feel so distant. Like, it was like I picked up a phone and called somebody. So I feel like it's gonna be a different energy. It's not gonna be the same energy or the same expectations that it was pre-COVID.
So Chris, in reimagining income or reimagining revenue, obviously having to pivot, there was an array of things someone can do. They can do what you did, which is sort of reimagine how you were going to kind of stay in your lane, but just increase your capacity of the service offerings. Was there anything that you did that was sort of like something very new? For instance, I think we talked about on the call that I had with you before this. I had a friend who was in the event industry, full on planner, and 2020 was actually a year for her to sort of dream again and reimagine maybe some of the things that she wanted to be all encompassing of as an event professional. And so she actually took a leap of faith and opened up a brick and mortar. And so was there anything that was sort of like in your lane, but kind of not really that you now offer, that you now do, considering you had to reimagine revenue, I'm sure?
When I first started out catering or doing events, I mentored with my mentor for some years. And one thing that really fascinated me was around Christmas time, they would either send out or they would receive gift boxes. And like, no, it's not new, but they would only get those or receive those or give them out around that time of the year. And so with everything being virtual, we were like, why don't we start doing what we normally would send out for Christmas or the holidays, where you get this packaged gift box per se, or we call them a virtual kit, that pretty much gives you a full experience within your home without being around people, or in the elements where you could possibly get sick. And so I think that's something that we definitely will keep up. In 2 weeks we have a virtual wedding event, and we're sending these gift box or these virtual kits to Hawaii and New York and Delaware and Florida. So it's definitely something new to the business, because we would normally only do that around Christmas time. And it would be like the old Christmas stuff, like little cheeses and nuts and like little cute fun stuff. But now we're doing complete kits that are fun, and you can involve your whole family. We're doing popcorn kits, margarita popcorn kits. We're doing s'more kits. We're doing all kind of things that is interactive, that the family can do together, or a corporate event, they can do it together amongst their staff, or team building, or whatever. And so we're including that now. And then also, as events do return, I don't see us stopping our prepared meals. We have 3 large contracts right now, and we do meals Monday through Sunday. And so we'll probably keep that component as things begin to open back up.
This is amazing. This is something that is not only creative and fun for the food element, but just as you mentioned, like, this is also a way to encourage people to do something together that is fun, that if you had to be at home anyway, which we did, this is something
Right.
to actually like bring something fun and engaging within the household dynamic. Especially when you mention it being done, at either a corporate or an organizational level for the team to do. I love that. Now, did you have any of your specials, your family secret recipe type ones? There's like a family, an Evan or a Taylor jambalaya recipe or something like this?
Right. So I have not done like a actual jambalaya, but that is a good idea. When I use it, I'm gonna use your name and be like,
I was
this
gonna
is
say,
her.
send me one because I want to. I don't know how to make jambalaya. My stepmom does, but I can already
Yeah.
tell. Like, I see pictures of your food. I'm like,
Right.
I want some jambalaya. Let's get it.
Yeah.
You got some boudin? Like, come on.
Right. Right. All of that. So I mean, and we actually did something similar to that towards the beginning of everything shutting down. I also felt the pull and I don't want to say struggle, but the pull to give back. Like, I wasn't just looking for money to come my way. It actually started with me giving back to the community. So I connected with a friend of mine who is an event planner, and we found places that were in need. So we actually did first responders. We did a drop off meal to them. We adopted a high school, and pretty much we told them, hey, this is our capacity, but if you would like to donate, we can increase our capacity, but we would like to donate to your students. We'll put together a kit, we'll give them instructions, and basically we portioned everything out. So all they had to do was either saute it, scramble it, reheat it, and they pretty much made the food with our instructions at home. And so it's been a fun time, and it's weird because it's so many people struggling that you almost want to turn down your light just a little bit, because people are struggling. And so it's that weird space to be like, your friends are struggling, but you're also having a really good time and being productive, and you're growing at the same time. So it's that weird space, but we've been able to do it without coming across too boastful. or too prideful. So we've definitely found the balance between those two.
Has it been a struggle to make sure that you're adhering to different CDC and local, food and health departments? Has it been challenging to make sure that you're adhering to things, or is there a do you have any trade secrets like, hey, if you want to make sure you're up to code, here's the website. Like, how is that level of having to kind of rise up to that standard as well?
Yeah. So one of our first contracts did a really good job in terms of giving us pretty much rules and regulations of how to say in code for CDC guidelines. And they broke it down so easily, and it was basically what we were already doing. Um, for those who are not in the food industry, you have to pass a food and safety course before you can even technically cook in a kitchen. And so, uh, my company, I make sure that everyone, if you're front of the house or back of the house, that you actually take that course, just so you're up to rest in terms of making sure food is safe and that our clients are safe. And so it really wasn't too far off from those guidelines, which we already had. The only new stuff is making sure that you're repetitively either using hand sanitizer, gloves, or washing your hands, which gloves and washing your hands is already a given in our industry. And then just making sure your mouth and nose were covered. Um, Everything else we pretty much were doing. Another thing that we added was making sure we took temperatures prior to people starting their work, just to make sure like you don't have a temperature, you're not at risk of making other people sick. Other than that, we kind of were already spot on. It wasn't a big lift for us to change. It was more so um, for us, a big thing was the inflation of things. So a normal box of gloves cost pre-COVID about $8 to $10. This one particular brand that we use, which is a nitro glove, it's all black. It just looks better as far as presenting the food to have like those nice black gloves. Those are at like $16 a box now. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. Like a whole case is $160. That is
That
a
is
definite.
insane. That's not collaboration right there. That is
that,
not collaboration.
that is sabotage. It's like, are you serious? Like we're trying to feed people and you're charging up the yin yang for some gloves. So
Knowing
yeah,
that
that
you
was one of
have
the
to,
costs that we really felt was the gloves. It's
yeah. And then knowing that, the manufacturers knowing that we have to use them. I mean, my gosh,
right.
that's
Right.
really
I was like,
wild.
isn't there a law against this? Like you
Right?
know
You like,
these
what's that word where you can't jack things up over a certain
right.
amount of
Right.
dollars?
Yeah. It was horrible. But
Wow. Well, these are some of these are some of those reimagining concepts, right?
yeah.
To kind of identify like what do business operations look like in this time? And it's even down to so many details that you would have never imagined
Mhm.
would be your biggest ticket item on your for your overhead
Right.
these days.
Never would have thought it.
What are just some tricks of the trade, or some industry secrets that you've discovered that it's just like, hey, I want to make sure all the chefs in our industry know, or all the caterers in our industry know these 3 points. What has that been for you, and if you can share those with our listeners?
I mean, for me personally, this really isn't a time to let your guard down um in the businesses. Whatever it is, do it now. Like don't wait, don't prolong, don't procrastinate. Like the time is now. I I believe when we had first talked, I was telling you how like I'm in between like small but almost getting big. So I'm in that in between stage. And so if I don't stay on top of my game, I can fall back down to like, oh, who's Chris Evans Events? This is not that time. When I say every door that I've approached during this time of the pandemic has been an open door for me, it's it's a very good time to be in business, and it's a very good time to be proactive about your business to make sure that you are pushing it as far as you can go, as like a old school saying, like, push it until the wheels fall off, like, go for it. um and that's what we've been doing. We've been making sure that, okay, yes, we're pivoting, but our business model is still the same. We want great food. We want people to experience something when they receive a virtual kit. We want people to experience something, even if it's one prepared meal, that when you take that first bite, you're looking for the lid to see who made this food. So be impactful in your business, be impactful in whatever you're doing, because people are going to notice it. We live in a crazy times where you can be a no name one day and you do one good thing or one great thing and you are viral within seconds. And you
Overnight.
never know. Overnight, not even overnight, in an hour. You
Right, in a couple of hours.
right. You can be like the newest sensation. And so it's important that you treat every opportunity, every moment as such, because you never know who you're entertaining. You never know. If I'm delivering 1,500 meals, I never know who may pick up that particular meal. So why not treat it as if it's my top line clientele? Why not treat it as if it's my new opportunity, my new break into something new?
The time is now.
The time
Time
is now.
is now. I feel like, if anything, perhaps food, and maybe a couple of other sectors, you all are able to just kind of roll with the punches anyway. So
We
this
do it
time has
anyway.
actually been right. Like
we,
we got to figure this out anyway. If there's that saying in events where it's just like, where's the fire that I have to put out,
right,
or I have to go out and put
right.
out fires.
Because it's
I feel
gonna
like
happen
with
no
catering,
matter how
right, you're
perfect.
gonna have a fire. Hopefully not a real one.
Listen, no matter how perfect you think you have planned, no matter how perfect you think the event is gonna go, something always happen. Unexpected, expected, it's gonna happen. So our industry, we've been doing this, and any creative, like, I've talked to other entrepreneurs and I'm like, you're a creative. Like, create something that fits this moment and make money. Like, you can't be an entrepreneur right now and say you don't have money. We're naturally creative. So dig in deep to whatever your source of creativity comes from and make it happen.
That is so good. That's a shirt right there. That is a shirt right there. That is so good. We are creatives, and whether you thought you were or not, guess what? 2020 showed you that you were
Right.
creative.
Right.
So good. Chef, what is on the horizon for you and your company and your business? What can we be expecting? You have anything, no pun intended, do you have anything
I
cooking? What can
do.
we be
I
expecting
do.
from?
So we have a lot going on, and I'm trying not to be overwhelmed, and I'm trying not to break out in hives because I have so much going on. And so I guess my circle knows about some of this stuff, but I guess I'll share it here. Um, we are in the process of looking for our own kitchen space. And so we've been meeting with our broker. And so we've been looking around the Bay Area. I want to say as close to Oakland, if not in Oakland, because we are Oakland based business. So we have that going on. As I mentioned earlier, become creative. I'm in the process of reaching out to a few vendors that I know. And we're about to start an apron line. And so I'm excited about that. We're doing the apron line, but we're also gearing a whole section towards women. A friend of mine, she was like, when I first told her, she was like, I love aprons, but for some reason, as a woman, they just don't make them right for women. So I think I'm going to tackle that. And yeah, so we have that. We just were put on vendor list in San Francisco, preferred vendor list. As I mentioned at the beginning of our story. So yeah, it's a lot going on, and we're excited, nervous, and everything in between.
You've been listening to The State of Events, where event professionals connect. For more episodes, you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and Podbean. To engage with us on social media, look for @TSOE Community. That's @TSOE Community. You can also visit our Facebook page, The State of Events. Make sure you stay connected by joining our newsletter. And lastly, we would love to hear from you. If you have topic suggestions, if you want to be a guest on the show, send us an email to inquiries@thestateofevents.com. That's inquiries@thestateofevents.com.